What is a URL? Each website has a unique address called the Uniform Resource Locator, or URL. The URL points to specific information on the Internet. According to Webopedia.com, it is the global address of documents and other resources on the World Wide Web. Let's explore the components of a URL. A protocol is an agreed-upon format for transmitting data between two devices. In other words, it is the language devices use in order to communicate with one another. Like languages, there are rules one must abide by in order to effectively communicate between two devices. These rules are called syntax. The protocol must be followed by : // in order to be effective. This is the proper syntax for a protocol. There are a number of protocols one can use over the Internet. Examples include HTTP, which stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, SHTTP, which stands for Secure Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and FTP, which stands for File Transfer Protocol. HTTP, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol, is one of the primary protocols used by the World Wide Web to transmit data from a web server to your electronic device. When you enter a URL into the browser's address bar, an HTTP command is sent to the web server requesting a specific web page. Once the web server has been contacted, it will transmit the requested page to your electronic device. The HTTP protocol is the language used to communicate with the web server and your browser. SHTTP, or Secure Hypertext Transfer Protocol, is an extension of HTTP and is used by the World Wide Web to transmit secure data over the Internet. If data is being transmitted securely over the Internet, you will notice an HTTPS : / protocol in the address bar. FTP, or File Transfer Protocol, is used to exchange files over the Internet. This is the protocol that is used to copy files from your local machine to a web server and vice versa. This protocol is also used when you are downloading and uploading files. A subdomain is a domain that is part of a larger domain. Believe it or not, the World Wide Web is only a subdomain of the largest WAN in the world, the Internet. Subdomains are followed by a period. In this example URL, http : www.mywebsite.com /about /owner.html, our subdomain is www, or World Wide Web. The domain name serves as a user-friendly alias for the IP address. Remember, each website has a unique web address called a URL. In addition to entering the URL, users can also enter an IP address. Of course, it is much easier to remember a domain name than a string of numbers. Try it. Visit a web browser of your choice and enter 164.106.88.18 in the address bar. What do you see? Domain names can be purchased through companies such as GoDaddy.com, Domain.com, or Namecheap.com. Keep in mind your domain name consists of a domain name followed by a period and a suffix, or top-level domain. Top-level domains are reserved depending on the type and/or location of the website. In our examples, you will see the .com suffix, which stands for commercial business, while the .edu suffix stands for educational institution. There are other top-level domains which I am certain you have seen over the years. Once your domain name is purchased, only you can use this name for web activity, assuming you keep up with the payments. Following the domain name, you may notice one or more directories separated by the /. These directories provide the path for a specific resource or web page. Understanding directories and folder structure will prove to be a critical component of this course. The final component of a URL is the file name. The file name is comprised of a user-assigned name followed by a file extension. The file extension communicates which application should be used to render the designated file. In this example, the file name owner.html was assigned a name of owner and is an HTML file specified by the .html file extension. This means that the computer will attempt to open this file in a web browser. Let's review the components of a URL. The protocol is the language used to communicate between hosts. Examples include HTTP, SHTTP, and FTP. The proper syntax for a protocol is to append a colon and 2 forward slashes. Next, we have the subdomain. The subdomain is a child of the larger domain. For example, in the URL mail.google.com, mail is the subdomain of the larger google.com website. Following the subdomain is the domain name. The domain name is a unique alias for the IP address. Instead of memorizing a series of numbers, you can recall the website name more easily. Domain names are comprised of a reserved name and followed by a suffix or top-level domain. When combined, a unique address has been defined. Domain names can be purchased through companies such as GoDaddy.com. Following the domain name, you may see one or more directories. These directories provide the path to your desired file. Finally, you will see the file name. The file name is comprised of a user-assigned name and file extension. The file extension tells the computer which application to use to render the file. In this example, the default browser will be used to open the HTML file. Resources used for this presentation include Webopedia.com and Wikipedia.org.